sit here, I just finished the honey, and it was long, which is fine. But there's a lot I take from this, and I don't know. Okay, I'm Zakk from the YoPro Gaming and Review channel, and I am a little at loss for words right now because this is my WWE 2016 Hall of Fame induction ceremony review. Obviously, Sting being the big one who was in this. Sting officially announced his retirement tonight. I want to get that out of the way first. I want to bring it up right off the bat, and that way everybody can put the rumors of Sting interfering and having a match with Undertaker next year's WrestleMania, put it to bed. It's not happening. And yeah, there'll be some people who are going to be out there, and the first thing they say, but maybe it's just to throw people off. No. The dude did hurt himself. The man was hurt after Night of Champions against Seth Rollins. And you can tell he doesn't hold anything against Seth. But no. I truly believe the man is done. Will we see him again? Of course we will. But not in an active in-ring role. And I am okay with that. I can live with that. But I will say, for all the people who are probably still going to be convinced that he's still going to come back, he's still going to wrestle again, this is just to throw everyone off, that's asinine, okay? I want to tell you that. I don't care if anyone likes that view. I don't honestly care. It's asinine if you think he's going to wrestle again. The man is 50 years old, broke his neck pretty much, had to have some sort of a surgery, I believe. So he is done. Now that that is out of the way, a lot of people view the Hall of Fame as a means to, they use it as a way as like propaganda or a way to push certain agendas on the WWE fans. That's negativity. The Hall of Fame is not about negativity, and I'm sure maybe that does happen a little bit, but I don't think that was the case in this. Not tonight. I truly did view this Hall of Fame as something very good. It did have a lot of inductees that I was happy to see. Jacqueline, getting to see Bossman inducted, the Godfather especially, and I'm gonna touch on all those here in a minute. But I'm to have a negative feel with the Hall of Fame tonight. Tonight, this is not going to be negative. This is going to be all positive because it's the Hall of Fame, and this is supposed to be a celebration. So again, this is Zakk, my Hall of Fame review. This is a podcast. As you can tell, I'm really digging these podcast vibes because it's just... Thank you, Ethan, for your comment. My brain is not working. It does appear that way sometimes. WWE don't care about their workers. But that's not what we're here for tonight. We are here to talk about these men and these women who for years have bled and worked hard for this company. So I want this to be a positive review. So I got all the negative ideas out of the way first off so we can go into all of the good things that did happen tonight. And let's start off with the Godfather. You had the APA come out to induct him into the WWE Hall of Fame tonight. And to see those two up there, JBL and Ron Simmons, back and forth, talking about the train, or, well, more of the lack thereof. Of course, they couldn't tell all the stories because of the era. But seeing those two, they made it comical. They made it funny. I liked it. So Godfather comes out and he's like, wait a minute, something seems kind of wrong. And then he brings out the ladies. I can't talk about what it really was because I have my kids sitting in front of me. I have them for the weekend. But anyone who's watched WWE back in those days know what the train was really about. So Godfather comes out there and he kept it short. He kept it sweet. You know, he, he thanked, the powers that be for allowing him to be able to do what he did. And he thanked the WWE Universe. And he says, to all the young cats, you need to enjoy this moment because he loved every minute that he got to have. He got to be himself. That's what, JBL and Ron Simmons even pointed out. You could see the man was very humble, but you could also see that glow in his face. You can tell that he was really excited about being there. And it did. It felt really great to see the Godfather inducted into tonight's Hall of Fame, and I think he does deserve it. Stan Hansen, a man I'm not super familiar with, but he was very big in the AWA. Yes, he is the guy who broke Bruno's neck. It was an accident, but it got him good, legit heat, and he was able to carry that, and it gave him the career that he had. By far, he had probably the longest speech of all of the guys tonight. But you know what? The man deserves to be able to come out there and speak. But he was inducted by Vader, who you could tell was getting pumped when he came in and throwing his jacket and talked about the Tokyo Dome getting his eye knocked out. I'm telling you folks, anyone who's ever said that wrestling is fake, man, go watch that Tokyo Dome match between those two. The man, and he made fun of it, put on the glasses with the eye falling out. He talked about being close with, Hansen, talked about his cardio, talked about his toughness, talked about them going up and down the roads together. So, I mean, it was nice. But then Stan comes out, you could tell he was very grateful. He even thanked JBL for keeping his spirit alive and bringing up his name occasionally. You could see a lot of what JBL did with the clothesline and everything, because Hansen was known for his clothesline, his lariats. And you could tell a lot of that is in the JBL character, the Bradshaw characters even. So he thanked a lot of people, 1,000 opponents he'd like to name. And he named off some of them, thanked his wife, he thanked his kids. He mentioned Terry Funk, Bob Backlund, Chavo Guerrero Jr., the Von Erichs, Rick Martel, and Bruno. Like I said, you could tell he was a very, very humble man. And there's nothing wrong with that, So, moving on to Jacqueline. This was a nice one. The Dudley boys came out. He's a pirate. Thank you, Ethan. Who's a pirate? Oh, I get who he's talking about. He's talking about Vader being a pirate and his eye falling out. But yeah, Jacqueline got to be inducted. The Dudleys come out, and you could tell they were really good friends. They talked about her toughness, not as a woman, but as a human being. The type of toughness that you saw with Mae Young or with Moolah. God rest their souls for the both of them. Devon, went to make a joke, and Bubba's all like, hey, you only say testify. And he's like, I know Devon's all like, I said we weren't going to bring the tables out, but I'm about to go ahead and bring it out anyways and put you through it. And they had a good little quiv together. It was fun seeing the Dudleys out there, and they talked very highly. They talked about Jackie being cheap, but in a good way. They referred to her going to sleep at toll booths or not having her money whenever it was time to get rentals. Very fond memories. Jacqueline comes out. She talks about how she got into the business. She had to dab, whatever that is. It's a dance I guess the young people are doing. I am not familiar with it. I'm still learning. My son apparently knows what dabbing is. And I barely know the nay-nay. Yeah, but my son knows that one as well. Very interesting. And, so, like I said, Jackie came out, she dabbed, she talked about the way she got into the business. She busted into the business by seeing an ad in a TV Guide magazine for wrestlers. And that's what she did. She went, she tried out, she ended up going to the Indies, got to WCW, she went to the WWE. her fondest memories was being a 2-time women's champion. And she also thanked, some of the people, her family and her friends. She talked about how grateful and she thanked, Lita, Molly, Trish, Victoria, Sable, and Terry Reynolds. They were the core divas during the time of the Attitude Era. They were what really made women's wrestling what it became. And as I stated in previous videos, it did taper off, but those ladies, they brought it back to prominence. She helped reestablish women's wrestling in the Attitude Era, and I am very glad that she got this. I think she did deserve it. She definitely deserved the recognition. And then they did something that I've not seen before. They did a legacy wing for the Hall of Fame, and this had Pat O'Connor, George Hackenschmidt, Frank Gotch, who is a name I'm very familiar with, Mildred Burke, she was one of the original women of wrestling, Art Thomas, Ed Lewis, and the famous, well-known Lou Thez, who inspired a lot of people. If I had one negative to take from that, I think Lou Thez should have been in the Hall of Fame, not this legacy wing, but he might still. Maybe this is just a temporary thing or something. Alright, moving on. This was another long one, but a good one. Definitely good with the stories. I think this by far had the best stories of all of the inductees. And this was with the fabulous Freebirds being inducted by the New Day, who, came out and were funny. They did their shtick, but they did it in a respectful way to still respect the Freebirds. And they talked a little bit about Michael Hayes, Buddy Roberts, Terry Gordy, and Jimmy Garvin, who were the Freebirds. But the Freebirds came out playing to Freebird by Lynyrd Skynyrd, did their dance, and talked about needing oxygen, and they talked about 52 years ago, 37 years ago, becoming brothers while drinking moonshine, 32 years ago, in Texas Stadium setting a world record. They talked about having a place together and losing their keys, kicking in the door and partying and putting holes in the walls, breaking tables, making fires. And, they even brought out Gordy and Robert's kids, so they could talk. And they told a couple stories. They pushed the envelope with some of these stories, talking about going to a bar and almost being shot. I mean, it was good. Michael P. Hayes did go into a direction where he knew people would be sensitive, and he admitted it. He thanked the writers, he thanked the McMahon staff, the staff in the WWE, the McMahons themselves. They brought out Kevin Von Erich, and he talked about his family and how they really truly are brothers, and not by blood, but just brothers as a whole. It was very moving, and then they congratulated the Freebirds, God blessed America, and Michael P. Hayes did a song. It probably went about 45 minutes, their speech did, and I enjoyed every second of it, so can't complain. Then next was the big boss man. He got inducted by Slick, who played off like he was in church, talking about collecting donation for church. He talked about being the manager of the Twin Towers and seeing the potential in Boss Man from the beginning. Nice little speech. Then Boss Man's family came out, and they just talked about his love for the business, his love for his family, the memories of him that they had. They even brought up Pepe, which was Al Snow's dog, and how they never had any Pepe steaks or any. That he did enjoy dragging Big Show's dad's casket away. If you're a real wrestling fan and you watched during that time, you will know what I'm talking about. So it was nice seeing his wife Angela and his daughter Lacey. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch his other daughter's name, but it was good. Then they did the celebrity wing. This by far is probably it is definitely the better of all of the celebrity inductions we've ever seen. Snoop Dogg, man. Snoop got inducted into the celebrity wing of the Hall of Fame, and it was nice. Excuse me. He was inducted by John Cena, who spoke very highly of Snoop Dogg. He even joked about that's why he still mixes gin with juice. And, how Snoop's first WrestleMania was before his, and how he's got more WrestleMania experience than, probably the next 10 guys you're going to see tomorrow night. And he just, he kept it classy, but while still making reference, because everyone knows Snoop Dogg smokes weed. Everybody knows this. There's weed every day. Yeah. I think this was probably Wayne's favorite part of the entire Hall of Fame, was Snoop Dogg coming out. And Snoop got out there, Cena made the joke about, drug tests after this weekend being a little suspect. But then Snoop comes out, and Snoop, he looked fresh. He brought out the girls. He's like, since no one else has done it, I got to keep it hood. So I'm going to take a selfie with the entire crowd. He did it. Got a good pop. Snoop had a good reaction. I'm pretty sure he was high during this. And, that would be the Snoop way. Where am I here? So yeah, he did the selfie with the crowd. He talked about being a WWE fan and thanking the fans and thanking the WWE for allowing him to be part of this family and getting to be immortalized as a Hall of Famer, and how he's always been a fan. He even dropped names like, he thanked John Cena, who he said they have secrets about when they're in the recording room, and how they were able to give each other high fives or something like that. And, you knew what he was talking about. Basically, he said John with him. Very nice. I knew there was something nice about John. But then he mentioned some people that he wanted to thank and that he was fans of. Randy Orton, Mark Henry, DX, HB Shizzle, Steve Austin, The Undertaker, and he even had to shout out his cousin Sasha. And he talked about bringing her to WrestleMania back in 2008, and how he saw her interacting with the superstars in the back, and how he knew this is what she was going to do, and how he's so proud as her cousin of where she is, and seeing her face on the WrestleMania sign at AT&T Stadium, which I've brought up before. Go watch that video on YouTube, seeing Sasha very emotional about that. And, and Snoop, you could tell he is truly a real fan of this, talking about going to seeing Big John Studd and Andre and stuff when he was a young cat. And then he finished it off with a rap in true Snoop Doggy Dog style. I mean, I liked seeing Snoop. He was probably the best of all of them tonight. But then they went ahead and they gave out the Warrior Wood, which was for Joan Lunden. Dana Warrior, the Ultimate Warrior's wife, she presented to her, and she thanked the fans for support and love for her husband after his passing, for her kids. She talked about the family, about the business being really family-oriented, and how she didn't grow up in it, but she took to it, and she would be willing to put someone through a table if she heard him talking bad about it. But then she talked about Joan Lunden being, the ultimate warrior woman, talked about her battle with cancer and how the warrior would be proud of her fight and would be more than willing to call her a true warrior. So Joan Lunden comes out. She talks about how she can't believe that she's, here at the Hall of Fame and she's following Snoop Dogg, of all people. And, she talked about her kids being fans of the WWE, and when she told them that she was going to be at the Hall of Fame to get this award, that earned her cool points and at her house. And she just talked about she's not a wrestler, but she did, she had to become a warrior and fight, and that she didn't feel bad for very long, but then she knew she had to pull herself together, not worry about the cancer, but to start fighting the cancer. And she talked about how she wanted to use her connections, not to talk to politicians on Capitol Hill, but to get, legislation passed to protect people who had cancer and to help, protect women in situations so they have coverage for everything. She had a good message with what she had, and, she thanked everyone for, the well wishes and the prayers that they helped her get through it, and she thanked the warrior and his wife and his daughters for, helping get this set up and for doing what they're doing, and she just hoped that her journey helped inspire others. Which brought us to the final induction of the night, and I already touched on this a little bit, but Sting getting inducted by Ric Flair. Ric Flair did what Ric Flair did. He went off on a tangent. He talked about Dusty Rhodes. He talked about Piper passing, and Ric Flair crying. He talked about his daughter Charlotte being there. He talked about, Sting going 55 minutes with him and their chemistry and Sting's work ethic and his contribution to the business and WCW and where he is now. He even mentioned Shawn Michaels wrestling with him, and he talked about Triple H and Sting's match last year. He talked about a bevy of things. And I didn't write too much about what Sting had to say because it's hard to really talk about what Sting had to say, especially after he dropped the bombshell he did. I knew Sting was going to announce his retirement. Once the fans started chanting one more match and he just kind of looked at him and they started chanting Undertaker, I knew what he was about to do. And I'm happy. If he's happy where his career is, great. And he brought up these different incarnations of the Sting character, the bleach blonde hair, the face, white face paints, the Crow Sting, the Wolfpack Sting, and then he's like, should I bring up the Joker Sting? Of course he should. No one should ignore the fact that he was in TNA. He talked about adapting. He talked about how great his career was. This sounded like a retirement speech. He talked about going up and down the Warrior with the Warrior, back in the day. He thanked the Warrior for pushing him. That's why he is where he is today. He talked about a lot of things. He talked about, going up and down the roads, being broke, sleeping in his car, to main eventing with Ric Flair in WCW. He talked about, making mistakes and then coming back from it. He talked about, allowing God in his life, allowing God to lead him. I'm not going to get on a religious tangent, but, religion is very important to Sting. To Steve Borden, the man. So Steve Borden retiring tonight, I am 100% okay with it. Like I said, we will see, Sting again in and around the ring, but as far as a match, no. And again, if you think you will, it is asinine. So I'm going to pretty much cut it there. Thank you anyone who did drop in on this. I wanted to make it quick. It's late. We got a long day tomorrow. A few reminders. You can go back. Sting did, not Sting. I'm kind of stuck on the whole Sting thing. Wayne did upload Infamous Second Son Part 1. That is up on our channel. You can go back and watch that. You can also go back and watch our preview and predictions. You can weigh in on who you think is going to win tomorrow at the big show. Speaking of, tomorrow at noon Central Standard Time, that is 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time or 10 a.m. Pacific, I will be doing my very first This is WWE podcast. It will be in this series where I will be talking about, it's going to be WrestleMania themed. I'm going to go a little more in depth with the main events. I'm going to talk about some of the rumors that are going on, and I have a couple announcements that I want to make. So you can come join me tomorrow for that. Also, tomorrow night, immediately, oh man, I'm getting the hiccups. Immediately following WrestleMania tomorrow night, I will be live with Wayne, where we will give our opinions and go over the results of WrestleMania, and we will discuss what happened, what we think it's going to mean, and we will live up to the challenge that we gave each other and take our punishments for all the ones that we got wrong. So pull for me to get all of mine right. So, once again, thank you all for joining. Thanks for watching, and I hope you all have a good night. Hope you all enjoyed the Hall of Fame. So this is Zakk. Wayne's in the background.
Adios, bitches.
And we will talk to you all later. See you guys tomorrow at noon.